Let's do this, bro.
Do you prefer Ann Marie, Ann Mary, or just Ann?
Ooh, these are all very good questions. Depends on the person. You can call me Ann Marie, though.
Okay, cool.
That sounds to be gravy.
So that's who I'm here with today. All right.
Chef Ann Marie is currently the executive pastry chef at Heirloom Restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. She is also the recent 2017 winner for Pastry Chef of the Year from the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. Chef Ann met Clark Barlow, chef owner of Heirloom Restaurant, while she was a student attending Johnson & Wales University in Charlotte. After impressing him with her culinary creativity and spunk, she joined the original staff that opened the restaurant. Eventually, she took over the pastry kitchen in 2014. She's responsible for the daily breads, desserts, and cheese courses, all of which arrive to the table imprinted with her distinct personality. Chef Ann credits her military childhood and family as the influence on her pastries and breads. She is a constant inspiration for the entire kitchen staff, always bringing her daily passion and dedication to driving Heirloom's ethical and creative vision and mission.
Ann Marie?
Jaxina?
Yeah, great handshake.
It's a pastry thing.
I know.
And my father was a military man, so we were taught how to give handshakes when we were wee little lads.
You probably make a good bed too.
You have no idea. I don't make it at all.
You just leave it messy?
Oh yeah, I mean, why make it when you're just going to go back into it later?
I could go with that one. Well, thanks for having us out today here at beautiful Heirloom.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
I haven't been in here in probably 3 years, I think, since the apple dinner.
February will be 4 years. Been here since before we opened up doors, so that was great. But like, yeah, every week, every month, something is changing. So we're always trying to find something better to improve the dining room, or find something better to improve the back of the house. So we kind of just do like one thing on the list. Like we have like the honey-do list. We can do this and make this look better. We can do this. So it's just like one little notch at a time.
Who does all the work?
Everybody. It really depends. I'm kind of HR.
So what you do pastry chef, HR, and maintenance?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I have to snake the drains. Sometimes I have
Oh,
to
well, that's a chef thing.
Sometimes I have to go and pick up orders. Sometimes I go to the markets. Sometimes I have to discipline. Sometimes I have to play babysitter. You know, sometimes I got to play mom.
Do they tell you this in culinary school?
No, they're just like, you're going to be the best you can ever be. You're like, no. It's just, then you come out into reality and you're like, oh, I can do this. It's all about making cake and shit. It's not. It's just like most of it is just telling people to stop fighting with each other because we've got a dining room full of people like, come on, guys, let's go.
And the funny thing is people think you're joking. It's actually the reality.
No,
of
it's
the situation.
100% reality. Like,
I cannot believe the conversations I have to have with what I think are grown adults.
You think, hey, Chef Ann, hey, Chef Ann. It's like, say Chef Ann one more time, see what happens. Like, say it one more time, because during the weeks I run Expo and I run pastries, so I literally run from one station to the other, and I go back and forth throughout the entire service. So it's like, this goes here, and it's just like, no, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, Chef Ann was like, say Chef Ann one more time. Like, you're just going to drive me fucking up a wall.
Are there days where you just can't say your own name?
Well, no, because my name's Ann Marie Stefaney, so, I mean, you can't really hear that enough. It's just like, I'm very, very full of myself. Your bread tonight is going to be the whole wheat biscuits. Instead of buttermilk, it's made with goat's milk. It still has butter in it, which is cow dairy, so it's a little bit of both. It kind of gives a little bit of a sour tinge to it. Super delicious. If you need to try one before service, more than welcome to.
You recently graduated
2015.
So within the last 4 or 5 years. So what's the number now that they're selling you in culinary school as far as like you can make 35 to...
It's always, it doesn't really matter.
I know.
No matter what, is like, depends on what you do, because there's so many different aspects in this industry. Like, people sell out and they go do the corporate route. Some people do hotels. Some people stay in restaurants. Some people do like small things. So there's so many different niches within this industry, which is awesome because it can just cater to a person that wants to do a certain thing.
I'm just talking about when they sell this $80,000 debt, and I'm not knocking culinary school by any stretch of imagination. You know, for some people that's exactly what they need to do. But I don't know that the narrative is always on the up and up.
That's their job, and they go and they're selling education. Like, they're still selling something. So obviously they're trying to get you to see in the foresight. But in this world, if you don't have that piece of paper, there's only so far that you can go. And for me, it wasn't necessarily about just getting the degree and being able to make millions of dollars. That was my rite of passage with my family. My parents always wanted to see somebody cross the stage. My brothers weren't going to do it anytime soon, so then there was one. So like now I'm the favorite because I have this piece of paper and I'm doing all these things, and like I was just whatever. Still the favorite.
I was going to say you don't need the paper.
I've always been the favorite. No, I'm the baby. So
you have two brothers, one biological and...
Well, I have one biological brother. His name is Jack. And then my brother's best friend since like the 3rd grade, his name is Chris. And he's been living on and off with us since like middle school. He just kind of comes and goes. And they're like my diehard brothers. I tell them everything, like anything good that happens, I keep them in the loop because we're family. And then we just housed kids throughout my entire life. If you got kicked out of your house in high school, or if you were in a little funk, or anything happened, like you would just show up at our doorstep. And if you went to school or if you had a job, like you had a place to stay and you had a warm meal. And that's just the kind of people that my parents are. So to be a Stefaney, it's not about blood. To be a Stefaney is the fact that you had to live at least 1 week under that roof.
Right.
And if you can withstand it, like, and you can deal with us, then like your family. I'm gonna go over this with you really quick. So your goat cheese, so they wanted a goat, a pepper jack, and a Gouda. The closest thing I had to that was the Goat Lady Chev. This is the Heat. It's sourced from Orange Tea Shop. It is a cow-based milk cheese.
So before you started working here, where were you professionally?
I was in the auto industry.
So you haven't been baking your entire life?
No, I've always been like the one in the family that cooks and does that, but...
For the context of our conversation, this was your first real job as far as being a baker, being a pastry chef?
Well, in this industry, like for fine dining, yeah. Growing up, like I ran cafes, I did catering, I managed things, I served. I've been in every part of the industry, and then I got to that point where I was a dumb kid and I saw dollar signs, and somebody offered me a job working corporate in the auto industry. So I answered phone calls, and then I worked my way up and had to manage people twice my age and getting jobs that they wanted and that they've been striving and working for. I'm just witty and sassy, and in sales, that's what all they're looking for, is somebody that can talk their way out of a brown paper bag. So I could sell rust off a bumper, and I can sell people on all these things. I could sell you an accessory package that's worth, $2,000 and sell it to you for 10 because I made you think it was worth it. So it just all became about money, and it all became about like just working, and I hated it. I was in front of a computer screen. I looked fabulous in a pantsuit. Like, don't get me wrong, like I rocked it. But my best friend Nicole saw that I was hating my life and hating what I was doing, and it wasn't just about working anymore, that I just needed to get out. She was like, kept on telling me I want to go get my bachelor's. I'm thinking about going to Johnson & Wales, and she just said, pack your shitty Nissan and go. And I showed up at my other friend's doorstep because his family moved back to Charlotte. I showed up with a suitcase and a lamp, and I was like, hey man, I'm moving in for 2 weeks until I can move in on campus. He was like, what are you doing here?
Was it like the jerk?
Pretty much. I just showed up, and he was like, what are you doing
Just all of the
here?
random things. I had my suitcase and a lamp.
Well, I had my car full of everything, but those were the only things that I could grab first. And I was like, hey man, how far do you live from Johnson & Wales in Uptown? And he lived in Elizabeth at the time, like right around the corner. So he was like 10 minutes tops, like with traffic. And I was like, cool, see you in September. And he started giggling. And then I just showed up at his doorstep in September, and he's like, what are you doing here? I was like, remember I told you? I'm moving in for a couple of weeks. And I just slept on his couch until I could figure out the city, find a job, do all those good things, and go to school.
And then for the fourth course, we'll do the duck breast with the garlic crushed potatoes and the crispy Brussels sprouts.
So how did you find Clark? Or how did Clark find you?
So this one time at a Flo Rida concert, I met Clark Barlow.
This sounds like the setup for a perfect joke.
Oh, yeah, right. So when I was back home in Virginia, his episode of Chopped was saved on my DVR at my parents' house. And when I would get out of the dealership, I would just watch it all the time. And so, Uptown does that, one of the bar crawls, and that ends with the Gravediggers Ball in the big parking lot, and they have, headlining that year was Flo Rida. And so Clark got a ticket, and I went with a bunch of my friends. He was dressed up as a chef, which is why I recognized me. He had the hat, the apron. He looked just like the dude from Chopped. And so I was dressed up like Clark Kent. I had a full pantsuit, Superman t-shirt, glasses. And then we got to finish the bar crawl, went to said parking lot for the concert, and I was like, dude, that guy was on Chopped. That guy was on Chopped. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Ann Marie. And then my friends just left, and I went up to Clark, and I was like, you're Clark Barlow. You worked at the French Laundry. You did this, you did that. And he just looked at me like, who are you? And like, how do you know me? And then we just like started bullshitting. And the next thing we know, the concert is over and my friends are gone. I'm like looking for them. I was like, hey guys, where are you? They're like, oh, well, we thought you left. And I was like, I haven't moved. I'm in the same exact spot that you guys left me. And then we just kind of stayed in touch. And now I'm his pastry chef. So it's like, how'd you become a pastry chef? Oh, man. So it's, you know, the apple bottom jeans, the boots with the fur. And we just kind of kept going. And now he's like, he's my baby bird. He's my best friend. And if we get mad at each other, there's a wall that separates us during service. But other than that, like, I'm on one side of the expo window, he's on the other. And it's like, it's fantastic. Like, you get to go to work, see your best friends, your whole family's there, and you guys just get to hang out and bullshit all day. And like, that's living the dream. I make bread every day, my hands in dough. I get to make whatever I want on my menu, and I just get to hang out with my restaurant family. Where did I put that pan? Oh. Story of my life. Putting things down and walking away, and then forgetting where you put said thing down.
When you're setting up your menus, when you're working with stuff, you're basically working with the same stuff Clark's working with, correct?
Like ingredient-wise? Yeah.
Do you limit yourself? And when I say limit yourself, but I mean, you know, Clark is notoriously, especially when he first opened up here, I mean, he shut off the border around the state, and that was primarily it. But it's not like you were bringing in perfect purees and stuff like that. You're making...
Everything's made in-house. I make everything. So those luxury items that most pastry chefs get, like balling on a budget, I don't have those things. People are like, why don't you put a tart on your menu? I have 12 tart pans, and they're all this big. And if I've got 100 covers coming in on a Friday, and I've got 12 tart pans, and it's probably gonna be like 2 or 3 tarts on an order, like, nah, I'm out. Not making tarts. Chocolate, that's like filigrees and things like that. Tempered chocolate, it's a tar roof with a tin roof on top. So I learned very quickly, like, you're not doing chocolate. All right, cool, find a different niche. And like, I had to go with like we call this the North Carolina style cheesecake because I have to make cheesecake in a hotel pan because, sir, I have a 1 springform pan. So that's 8 to 12 pieces of cake. So if I can get 12 orders out of it, I can make 12 orders at a time, so I gotta find a new method. So we're making them in hotel pans, and I'm just like, why don't you just get more pans? Balling on a budget. Because there's other things around the restaurant that we could use when we can use like just our ingenuity and just our skills alone to be able to get that same concept, those same flavored profiles, and make it look way better. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's fine dining, cutting a piece of cake and putting on a plate. Like, anybody can do that, but not everybody can take it apart and put it back together and cater it to everybody's individual style and flavors and like dietary restrictions and food allergies. So being able to do that has been able to like expand my mind and be able to create more, bigger, better things. But yeah, it all comes down is that we're a young restaurant and we can put money elsewhere rather than investing in certain products. We call those luxury items. I don't get luxury items. We're not really blessed with an ice cream machine, but we use liquid nitrogen. We also like IQF and flash freeze a lot of our fruits and vegetables, so it's kind of a multi-use rather than just having a machine that only does one thing. We'll utilize the liquid nitrogen to do multiple things throughout the entire season and throughout the entire year, so it kind of makes it a little bit more feasible. Boom, right at the brim, and boom goes the dynamite.
So let's talk about desserts. Talk about what we got on spread here.
I'm in charge of like the breads and spreads, so every day I do some sort of type of bread. Biscuits, this is the whole wheat biscuit that we've been working on, and it's gonna get served with a whipped butter with some Outer Banks sea salt and some rooftop honey. And this is on my fall pastry menu, which is the pumpkin spice cheesecake. I like to call it leggings and Ugg boots, or yoga pants for short. Try to do a gluten-free or a custard one as well, so this is the pot de creme. I do all the cheese and charcuterie in-house. I do the special touches, so like if you're celebrating anything, we'll send out a little touch, birthdays, anniversaries. Lately it's been ice cream because it's starting to get cooler in the summers. Ice cream's not a good idea here. Also make a substantial amount of cookies every day. So most people do like afternoon mints, like, you know, with the check, you get like little Andy's mint. Like, so we take Olive Garden's little Andy's mint, take it a little step further where Chef Ann makes fresh baked cookies. So you get a little cookie to go. So even if you didn't get dessert, I can stick it right to you and be like, man, I should have ordered dessert. You should have. You should have. So now you're just going to get a little teaser, a little baby cookie, and it's always a little snack for later. usually for the ride home or the Uber for some people.
Got an Uber. So the cheesecake, number one, this is one that you're doing the sheet pans, right?
Yeah, we do full hotels of the Cheesecake Base. Heirloom Restaurant will always be home of the North
So a
Carolina
hotel
cheesecake.
pan, for people that don't know,
Ooh,
is
a beak casserole dish. Lasagna. Think of a deep lasagna pan, Pyrex, but metal.
it's probably about 2.5, 2 feet
Yeah, it's
by about 18 inches.
Yeah,
18
about
by,
that.
18 by 11, I think, is
Yeah,
the number.
sure, whatever. It's a substantial amount of cheesecake, so I make the cheesecake 12 pounds at a time. And we scoop it out into portions. But Heirloom Restaurant's home of the North Carolina cheesecake, so I thought that if Japan and New York could have their own style of cheesecake, why can't we? So it's home of the smashed cheesecake, where the cheesecake is actually smashed on the plate, and then all the garnishes are going with it. So this is a sorghum cheesecake, because everybody else is like, I'm going to do a pumpkin cheesecake, and everything's just full of pumpkin and then like too much cinnamon. So I like to take those fall flavors and utilize them. So it's a sorghum cheesecake with a spiced pumpkin puree, a cinnamon graham, acorn candied pecan. So we took that acorn flour that we milled in-house, and I use that in my candying mixture on the pecans. So you get that like bitter on the forefront, and then you get that like sweet, buttery little nuttiness of an actual pecan. And then the reduction on it is Jamie Swafford's apple cider, Savory Spice Shop chai, and just, put those two together and, all the bitches start running. So and then you just reduce it down with a little bit of love and some bourbon. And then since we utilized the entire ingredient, we took the seeds out of the pumpkin and we just toasted them. So toasted them with a little bit of salt, so everything together, it tastes like, a day at the pumpkin patch.
So you just managed to score a little accolade from the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association.
Yeah, I got 2017 Pastry Chef of the Year.
That's pretty cool.
Which was pretty badass. Didn't expect it. Kind of felt like I went in as the underdog and nobody really knew who I was. So
Yeah, you didn't expect it at all, right?
no, during the announcement, my assistant and I were just sitting on the floor, and I was like, we're just going to go to this event. We're going to put out some good food. We're going to network. We're going to meet people. And we're going to drink bourbon all day. She was like, I'm in. And then Heidi Bellato got up and she was like, 2017 Pastry Chef of the Year, Ann Marie Stefaney. And then we were just like, fuck Amanda! Like, ah! Like, I don't even think there was Amanda in the pastry category, but we were just sitting there just drinking our bourbon. I was like, we put out better food. This is rigged. This is horrible. And that entire time, like, Philip Platoni was standing over there, like, laughing because he figured out what was going on. And then she goes, from Heirloom Restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I remember looking up, and, like, Philip is still laughing, and he looks down, and he's just like, yeah, that's you. And then Kayleen and I were just sitting there, and I was like, well, there's only one Heirloom Restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then she was like, Clark's Pastry Chef. And I was like, well, there's only one Clark Barlow, and he's only got one pastry chef. And we're just sitting there, and as this is all clicking, we're like, holy shit, we just won. So then we had to go up and, like, didn't prepare a speech, didn't prepare anything, felt bad for Amanda. But then I was like, I'm Amanda. So I went up, my parents went, and it was like the first time my parents went to, like, anything like a cooking competition or anything food. So it was their first food competition in their entire lives. They've always been those vocal parents at hockey games. My dad was always the coach. My mom, she's Latina, so I just have to say that. So there's Dot. They're sitting there, and, like, as soon as my dad realized it was me, he was like, woo! And everybody's just, like, golf clapping, and I was like, oh my God, that's my dad, that's my family. And my dad was like, it's Stephanie! Woo! And I was like, oh my God, like, we're about to, 1, lose the reward, 2, get kicked out, and 3, they're like, you don't even get anything that's left at your table. Like, you guys just go. But we had a good time. It was a good time for them to see their first little food competition. So luckily, like, that we won, because my mom was like, I'm so excited, you're gonna win. I was like, Mom, don't get your hopes up, because it's the curse of the restaurant. Like, I was on the Food Network twice and lost. Clark was on the Food Network twice and lost. We did competitions all around the city, put up really, really good food, and every single time we lost. So I went in there, and everyone was just like, just make good food, have a good time, network, give out cards, get people to come to the restaurant. It was really cool, and it was very humbling to win, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not good enough to do all this. Like, how did you guys pick me? Like, you picked me, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to go to the event. I'm going to make a cake. I'm going to put mushrooms in the cake just to, mess with people. People were like, there's mushrooms in here? Yeah.
What was the cake?
I called it a coconut and apricot cake. Obviously, coconut is not indigenous to the bountiful state of North Carolina, so fig leaves If you take them and you roast them and you dehydrate them, they smell and taste just like coconut. So I used those leaves that were roasted, steeped them into milk and some cream, and made a coconut milk, if you will, and that was the liquid ingredients within the cake. And the apricots came from, obviously, Clark does all the foraging. He went out and got a bunch of chanterelles, and this varietal was called an apricot chanterelle. And when you actually cook it properly, it tastes just like an apricot.
Oh, wow.
So in the whole cake, there were no actual coconuts or apricots hurt in the making of said dessert. And then it just had a bunch of fun garnishes. We smoked blackberries with some lime basil and some hickory wood. So you had like that little umami touch, little smokiness. And when you tell people like you smoked a dessert, they're like, what?
So who's your fan over there? Who's our Flat Stanley?
This is my best friend, Nicole. She got married last October 2016. And her husband, Danny, are both in grad school getting their masters because they're like really smart people and like really on their lives. And they couldn't go on a honeymoon. So this was the cardboard cutout from their video blog at their wedding. And I took Nick with me. I covered her with packaging tape to make her water resistant, not waterproof, but just in case it rained at the bar.
Did you find out that it wasn't waterproof?
Oh, yeah, very quickly. It's just a like foam core and 8.5 by 11 photos put together. Yeah, Pics with Nick. She's got her own little Facebook page and everything. Everybody takes pictures with Nicole.
You know, the level of OCD on that tape really speaks to this industry.
Yeah, it says,
Clean
I'm
edges.
a pastry chef.
Well, it also says very clean, you know what I mean? You know how we are with tape.
Yeah, everything was cut. But yeah, so she was the one that told me to pack up my car, move to Charlotte, become a pastry chef, follow my dreams, and do all these cool things. So she couldn't go on a honeymoon, so I took the cardboard cutout, and she said anytime I did anything fun that I needed to take her with me. So I've been carrying around a cardboard cutout of my best friend to bars and to events, and people take pics with Nick, and they post it on her Facebook page. And she was like, my phone's blowing up. Where are we right now? Like, where are we now? And I was like, we're at the Carolina Jubilee.
Did you bring her?
I brought her to the Jubilee. I brought her to various events. Like when I first started, I used to just bring her to like T Street and to like the bar, and people would just be like, "Can we take Nicole?" Nobody knew my name, but everybody knew Nick, and so she's fantastic. Very good to get into the HOV lane because she's so realistic.
Right, it's uncanny. It's almost
and as long as you put a seatbelt on her, then it'll be great because then you won't get that seatbelt violation and nobody knows. So it's a twofer. So yeah, you go through the HOV, you get a ride or die. If you get bored, you can talk to somebody.
And I'm sure for you, I mean, you're a bit taller than she is.
No, they actually cut her out at the shins, so she's actually taller than me by like this much, but
not now.
But not now. No, everyone's just like, she's so little, and I was like, yeah, it's just a genetic disorder.
Are they planning on going on a honeymoon?
I don't know. I mean, I think I've taken them in just enough
my question
places.
is, if they do, then what?
Yeah, I mean, I already told her that I need to get a new one because this one's it's going, but hashtag Pics with Nick. It's dope. Hashtag Pics with Nick. Pics with Nick. Where are my cameras? Pics with Nick. Yeah, so that's Nick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's my best friend. She's my Flat Stanley. Carry her around everywhere. And, Clark knows everything. I know where we get flour from. I feel like that was important. His mom grew the pumpkin for the cheesecake. That was important.
Right. What kind of pumpkin was it?
A big one.
Those are the best kind. You said claps.
Claps. You did say plural. That was right.
I figured 2 was not nearly enough.
3.
4 was too. 4 was too many, and 5 was right out.
This is gonna be horrible. Peter's gonna hate us by the end of this. I'm excited. Who's excited? I'm excited.
And then they brought up the holy hand grenade of Antioch, and I didn't know where to go.